About a year ago, a group of paddlers met to plan a trip down the Apalachicola River. It was National Oyster Day, and Apalachicola oysters appeared to be plentiful.
Just yesterday, the Secretary of Commerce, she determined that a fishery resource disaster occurred for the oyster stocks along the west coast of Florida, primarily in the Apalachicola Bay.
This comes nearly a year after the winter bars opened to reveal a severe lack of oysters. 3 factors were considered in declaring the fishery disaster. They read like an outline of an EcoAdventure that hasn't wanted to end.
Number one, a drought throughout the southeastern U.S. that has led to below average river flows.
When the Flint and Chattahoochee don't receive rain, the Apalachicola loses out on fresh water. That problem is further compounded.
Number two, reduced downstream river flow from man-made dams along the rivers.
The dam, it's behind that fog. That's where our adventure began. The RiverTrek paddlers set out to raise awareness for the issues facing the river and bay, and to raise money for the Apalachicola Riverkeeper. The Riverkeeper is fighting for more water.
Above all, we've got to have that water that drives the productivity of the bay. So that's our main focus right now.
The bay is where our 5-day, 105-mile paddle ended, but it was far from the end of the story.
All right, good.
Number three, increased salinities in the bays that not only stress the oyster populations, but allowed a persistent occurrence of oyster predators, such as stone crab and oyster drills.
And so now we run this experiment, I think this is the 3rd time. Predators are definitely a part of this story.
Our research collaborators have helped us to understand the ecology of this crisis, but there's more to it than that.
I've done this, like I said, all my life. I've done it with my granddaddy, I've done it with my father. I've got a 6-year-old little boy. I wish he could at least, I hope he don't, because it's just a different lifestyle, but at least have the option, if he wants to be a commercial fisherman, that he can be.
And the old man worked the oyster beds till the arthritis in his shoulders got him down. And now it's on the side of 98 selling head-on shrimp to the snowbirds by the pound. And he thinks back on the days before the Apalachicola started running low.
Well, I'm just hopeful that we get some fresh water down here to help cure this problem. You had 4 or 5 years of drought, no fresh water, and it's taking a big toll on the bay.
We want a flow regime, that we call it, that goes up and comes down through the year. Typically the high water season's in late February, March, April, May, and drops off in the summer, and then you have low flows in the fall.
Under drought conditions affecting Florida and Georgia, the Army Corps of Engineers changed the flow regime.
The Corps dropped the flows down to 5,000 CFS the 1st of May, and it remained low at 5,000 CFS for 10 months until the 1st of February of 2013.
On the first day of RiverTrek, we stopped at Red's Landing, which offers an elevated view. That was last October. We returned just recently.
We've had a little bit of rain over the last 4 or 5 months. The rivers come up and the fresh waters come in. You can see the bay is wanting to come back.
Are we going to see any relief of the water that's coming through the Flint, coming down here into the Appalach?
But I think it's good. We'll have to see what the weather is like over the next couple of years and the water withdrawals to really know.
Well, I think the turnout and the fact that they came down was just a great opportunity for us, and they were able to see how important it was, not just to our own local community around Apalachicola Bay and Franklin County, but to a much broader spectrum of people in the region.
The collapse will be described by Dr. Havens last summer heralds the beginning of the end of this last great bay of national treasure.
It's rare that we get that kind of time in terms of trying to make certain that they are grasping the issue.
As Dan explains it, one of the Riverkeeper's goals is to build consensus between different stakeholders.
We're touching base with our congressional or state delegates, our local representatives on the county level, working with other stakeholders, trying to make sure we have as much a unified voice as we can so that it doesn't weaken our position by diverging on certain issues.
A lot has happened since that last river trek, and the river's going to look a little different this year. Ecological damage caused by low flow has affected more than oysters.
The mussel will be laying.
We'll continue our coverage of this story on RiverTrek 2013. For WFSU, I'm Rob Diaz de Villegas.